Hey, I'm Zach McDonald, your real estate agent with Real Property Associates, and this is my Seattle real estate market update for the month of November 2018. I'll do these updates just like I do all the other ones, just in case you're new. I start off with a story, talk about some stats, and then I bring it home with a little bit of application to you as a home buyer or homeowner in the Seattle area. So I'll start off with a story. I've worked with Monica and Dan before. They sold a house with me back in the springtime in the Linwood area, and they had told me that they wanted to buy a house in Edmonds in the near future, but they were kind of putting their home search on hold, so to speak. And I got a quick text message, it's like 2 weeks ago now, on a Sunday afternoon saying, hey, we found a great house. We stumbled into it at an open house, and we actually do want to buy. So we scrambled to get the approval done. We were able to, and this is where I think the fun part is, we were able to negotiate the price down because there weren't a bunch of offers on the house, and it had been on the market for 30 days or so. And then what's even better is that once we got the price down, we also were able to do an inspection after we were under contract, which in the Seattle area, that's amazing. And we were able to continue negotiations during the inspection period. Ultimately, the deal didn't come together because the seller wasn't willing to concede what we needed to keep the deal going. They weren't willing to do all of the repairs. And, good for them. They're back under contract actually a few days later with a different buyer. So we were negotiating them down, and then they decided, you know what, we're going to take our risk and say, no, we're not going to go any farther down. My client said, you know what, it's not worth it for us with all this work. So they back out, and the seller's back under contract. So I think just in a microcosm, that's a really good picture of what the Seattle market is starting to change to. Now, it's still too early, I think, to say this is a permanent change, but right now you have sellers that are open to negotiating the price a little bit and even paying some closing costs or fixing some things with the house during the inspection period. And you have buyers that are thinking, you know what, I can negotiate the price down. I can ask for some electrical work to be done on the house, or I can ask for an attic to be cleaned out, or a crawl space to be insulated. So there's things now where the buyer starts to have a little bit more negotiating power, and the seller is not standing on as strong a ground. But the market still favors sellers because, well, this seller is able to say, you know what, I'm not willing to do that much, and then go ahead and get the house under contract, knowing all that they know now. So I think that's a good segue into the stats. And today I don't want to talk about too much of the statistics because we do that every month, and well, they haven't changed that much. So home prices stayed relatively the same as they were last month. The Seattle median sales price last year. And when I talk about these stats, these are from as of November 1st for up through the month of October. And then the stats are focused on the residential purchases, not condominiums. I don't factor those into these updates. So those numbers are a little different. But the median sales price for residential homes in Seattle was up about 3% over last year, which is significantly lower than some of the numbers we've heard in the past when I'm saying 10%, 12%. So up a little bit, but not a bunch. But what we see in the suburbs, Shoreline, Edmonds, in Shoreline we're up almost 8.5%. In Edmonds, which is another city just north of Seattle, if you're not familiar, 13% up over last year. So the suburbs still are considerably more above where they were the previous year, but Seattle, we've seen prices kind of come down a little bit, and they were considerably higher as well than in the suburbs. What's interesting though is we've seen a whole bunch of new listings coming on in the last few months, and we still saw more listings come on last month than the previous year, but what we also saw is more homes start to sell again. So those inventory numbers, we've been talking about how that's kind of the number to watch. Okay, well, how many homes are for sale and how many buyers are out there? I mean, that's usually one of the big metrics, supply and demand. And what we saw is more homes start to come on the market, but not as many new ones, and we started to see more sales. So the last few weeks even, and this won't necessarily reflect now in this update, but we'll see it in the next update, is that there have been considerably more pending sales and solds than there have been new listings. So I know it stinks to wait a few weeks, but we don't have all those numbers. The way the numbers work, we get them once a month. We do have some weekly numbers, but the main numbers are once a month. So we have to wait, but stay tuned, because I think we'll start to see, and we'll continue to see, that these inventory numbers are climbing back down, which is, continues to keep us in the direction we've been going, which is in a positive upwards direction on the market. So as far as application goes, the Seattle real estate market, and one of my lending partners mentioned this in a video, and I think he put it really well, that what we're seeing is a transition from a seller's market to a more normalized market. Simple as that. And I really resonate with that. And then what I've seen and what I've experienced is it's not like we're falling off a cliff right now in Seattle. We're seeing a transition, though, where sellers are starting to lose some of their negotiating power and buyers are starting to get some back. But we're not in a free fall right now. We've definitely leveled out over the last few months. We're not continuing to see a flood of new listings and a continual drop in prices. So I think what we're seeing is now, okay, people are able to take a breath. We're starting to see prices level out a little bit. And what's interesting is in 2016, around the same time, people were starting to talk, and I was hearing the chatter in the office. This is it. I mean, this is the end of what we've been seeing. And we're talking about a couple years ago. This is the end of the crazy price growth, the multiple offers, things like that. There's no way this is going to keep going. And there was a lot of conversation that this was the end of that boom and that we were going to level out, flatten out there. And we saw quite a significant drop off, about 7% in home prices from the top of the market in that year. It was like, I think, June down to October. We'll let the sirens go by. And this year, I was looking at the same numbers. May, we had our top price in, just for residential homes specifically, we're a little 800,000, 801,000. And then we saw prices, and we're talking about median sales price go all the way down to, now we're at 740 for this month, which was about 8%, if my math is correct. So down, definitely, but not that much more than they were in 2016. So the jury's still out. I mentioned in the last video, I think we'll see inventory levels continue to shrink as the rest of the year goes on, as it normally does. I think we'll continue to see that, and it will be interesting to see in the new year, but I do think we're going to start to see prices climb back up again as we have in the past. Not as dramatically, but I do think that's where we will head. So for sellers, I would say if you're not in a hurry, hold off, wait a little bit before selling your home. You're going to get you're going to have better competition, most likely, and potentially a better price if you wait until late winter, early spring to kind of get the house ready and get it on the market. If you're a buyer, you might have seen the other day, I posted a video that says, don't buy a house. And I was pretty emphatic. The thumbnail even says that. And I explain more about it, and I'll link it up in this video. I think for the buyer, right now is a good time to be buying. Prices are down quite a bit from where they were. If you're thinking, though, that you want to be buying a house now and then maybe selling it in a year or two and just moving on really quick, it probably doesn't make sense financially to buy a house. And in the video, I explained that that's actually what I mean by don't buy a house right now. Don't buy a house to just live in it and then sell it really quick, because I don't think we're going to see the kind of growth we have over the last few years. And I don't think you're going to actually walk away with more money. You'll probably actually lose money on that deal. Now, if you're planning to live in the house for the long haul, more that 7 to 10 years mark, it would still make great sense to buy right now, because time is really your friend in the real estate market. And timing the market's always awesome. If you bought a house in 2012 in Seattle, congrats to you. I'm super happy for you. It's tough to do, though. It's tough to know, okay, where is the bottom? Where's the top? Where's the middle? Where are we? And as much as I talk about it or other people talk about it, we're all speculating and doing our best job to guess. And the reality is time is your friend in the market, and that's in the stock market and also in the real estate market, and that's what we're talking about here. So if you're planning to be in the house for the longer haul, that's when it would make sense to be a home buyer. So sellers, hold off, just unless you need to, right? If it's an estate or there's a divorce or something like that, and you really do need to sell, do it. But if if you can wait, and if you're a buyer, this might be the right time to start thinking about buying. But again, you need to consider your specific situation. So thank you for watching. If this content is valuable to you and you find it to be helpful, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. And there's actually a little bell you can ring as well that will alert you to other videos that I do. You'll find on my channel that I post almost daily videos, at least during the week, that are real estate education and also Seattle real estate market updates. These updates I do once a month, but you'll see a lot of other valuable content on my page. So thanks so much for watching. Again, Zach McDonald, and we'll see you here soon. Bye for now.